No one listened to him. Not the commander, not the council, not even the one who shared his bed. General Corin had warned them. For cycles uncounted, he spoke of the inscriptions buried deep in the ruins of Anther Prime. Records that told of the Ash Walkers, a vanished race of fire-bearing giants who burned their way through the stars long before the Galactic Accord was ever signed. They mocked him, branded him a dream chaser, claimed age had left his mind brittle with dust and myth. Then the black ships appeared. No crests, no greetings, no proclamations, only silence. And then fire. Corin stood upon the observation deck of Del Station, his 3 hearts hammering as the heavens tore apart like the hide of some colossal dying beast. The first detonations lit the dark with dazzling, soundless agony. Hulls ruptured. Fire blossomed in the frozen void, and the station quaked as a single kinetic round pierced through 2 defensive rings, as if they were mist. He didn't say, "I warned you." There was no room for gloating. Behind him, officers howled into coms, issued frantic orders, and broke down in tears. The shield lattice stuttered, then splintered beneath a force that should not exist. Not from any race still named. These were no raiders. This was not uprising. This was calculated. It was merciless. It was human. He knew the instant the fleet's pattern appeared on the console. Not the silhouettes, not the drive cores, just the discipline. Tight lines, direct thrust into fortified zones, no hesitation, no retreat. A trembling voice cut through the chaos. "Sir, a transmission." Corin turned. "Play it." A breath later, a harsh voice growled across the channel. Rough, deep, unapologetic. No translator needed. It wasn't language, it was war. Bare, unmasked. "You forgot us." Silence followed. The heavy kind. The suffocating kind. "We didn't forget you," the voice went on. "We simply had better things to do until now." Another barrage gutted the defense grid. Hull alarms shrieked across Drell Station. "They're aiming for command," the tactical officer cried. No wasted fire, no random strikes. Corin fixed his gaze on the display. The symbol on their hull appeared, black triangle on red, crude, raw, like geometry smeared in blood. It matched no courthouse, not even the Rim Marauders. Yet in his core, Corin knew. The word echoed not from memory, but from instinct. Human. The legends claim they burned out, consumed by their own extremes. A volatile adaptive species that could not outlast peace. The legends were lies. They had not died. They had only gone silent. Until now. The weight of that broadcast lingered like smoke after a detonation, thick and unshakable. "We didn't forget you. We simply had better things to do." The words cut at Corin like a blade laid against his throat by phantoms out of myth. Officers staggered across the deck. Some screamed reports. Others froze, awestruck at the precision of the assault. A lone fleet, conjured from nowhere, slicing through centuries of fortifications as if through water. No demands, no posturing. Only power, cold, relentless, exact. And now Drell Station, keystone of the Accord's trade artery, was reduced to a grave. "General Corin," a young voice cracked. "The echelon carrier Vyrix has fallen. Total loss. 3,000 lives." Corin's mandibles clenched. Fury threatened to spill, but fury was useless. Action was all that remained. He turned to the comms officer. "Signal Prime Accord. Level 7 alert. Don't wait for acknowledgement. Send it." The officer faltered, eyes wide. That triggers full mobilization. Forced conscription. "We haven't called Level 7 since the Orion collapse." Corin snapped back, "which happened because we hesitated." "Do it now." The officer scrambled, fingers shaking. On the screen, the enemy formation advanced, flawless, engines bleeding a pale, searing white trail. Their hulls bore no excess, no flourish. Only efficiency and death. Corin's mind raced. If they were human, if they had endured, what had they become out there? The legend said they did not care for peace or for war. Only for survival. For triumph. If that was truth, then this was no revenge. No rebellion. This was reclamation. Redirect all remaining drones at their flagship, he ordered. Stall them. But sir, our drones can't compete with. I said stall them, not win. We're not here to claim victory. We're here to learn what hunts us. Corin's stride shook the deck like a war drum as he approached tactical. Magnify their flagship. The display shifted. There it was. Though the largest of the invaders loomed on the tactical feed, at least 4 times the scale of anything they'd seen so far. Its hull wore deep gouges, old battle scars. It had fought and survived many fights. No active shields, the officer reported. Their armor is kinetic resistant. Plasma barely chars them. Someone scoffed. Who uses raw armor these days? Primitive. Corin's eyes tightened. That's not primitive, that's intent. They didn't need shields. They expected to take hits and outlast them. A sudden screech ripped through the comms static. Garbled speech then. Drill station. This is Commander Grant of the ISS Helldiver. You are under observation by United Human Systems. Cease hostile action and surrender. The voice differed from the first, calm, cold, precise. Not a demand. A verdict, spoken as if repeated 1,000 times. Corin stepped forward, mandibles twitching. This is General Corin of Drill Station, Galactic Accord, Sector 17. Identify your fleet and state your purpose. A long stillness, then static. You wouldn't believe us. Try me, Corin growled. Then Grant replied, darker now, not mocking, but resolute. We are what remains of the old war. The part of humanity you scrubbed from your annals. The part you forgot because we would not domesticate. We did not compromise. We vanished because we refused peace. Now we are back and you stand on our ground. The line cut dead, no threats, no timers, only that cold accounting. Corin stiffened. Scan archives. Full spectrum sweep. Everything on the old war, every human faction pre-accord. Now, a low murmur spread across the bridge. They were fit in pieces together. Myths unspooled into fact. The Ashwalkers were not metaphor. They were real, and they had teeth. Miles below, on Arden F's surface, Defense Commander Kellen watched the sky flare from the planetary bunker. He couldn't pick out enemy hulls, but he didn't need to. The detonations were visible even in daylight, blue streaks cutting clouds where orbital kinetics tore through atmosphere. They're not probing, Kellen said to his XO, Horv. They're dissecting. Horv nodded. Surgical strikes. They don't want to rule us. They want to erase us. Kellen rubbed his eyes. 2 sleepless days had burned him thin, but he didn't dare rest. Get me eyes inside that fleet. Whatever it takes, someone who can get close and read how they think. Horv hesitated. There might be one Arden smuggler, ran ring routes for years. Swore he saw ghost ships. Swore they were human. Everyone called him mad. Where is he? In custody. Drunk, yelling at a wall cell block 6. Kellen's smile was a knife. Perfect. Bring him up. Aboard the Helldiver, Commander Grant watched Accord responses like a predator watching prey learn to run. They're slow, Lieutenant Marlowe said, reading patterns. Stuck in protocol. We've taken 3 stations, 6 patrols, 2 orbital cannons. Minimal adaptation. Grant's voice was soft. They never truly fought a war. They signed treaties, let rules tie them up, got soft. We didn't. He stood and looked out. The starfield burned with wreckage, beautiful, honest carnage. A voice announced intercepted traffic. Full mobilization level 7. They're afraid. They should be. Grant clicked to come. Patch me to the fleet. Continue the sweep. No hesitation. We will not stop until they acknowledge what they did to us. Until they learn humans don't vanish, we regroup, rebuild, and return with fire. He cut the link. He did not need cheers. His soldiers followed because they remembered betrayal, exile, the long silence. Humanity had not died. It had gone dark. Now the stars would burn, beneath Idrin F's command. The holding cells were nothing but refitted cargo crates, shock bars, thin bunks, no place for diplomacy. Arden sat with his boots on the bench, half drunk, half smirk. Blood and liquor stained his coat. A faded chest plate showed beneath. His beard was wiry, threaded with gray. A black market lens flickered in his left eye. Horv entered without ceremony. Arden cocked an eyebrow. If it isn't the stormtrooper chief here to kick my teeth in or mock my roots. Horv didn't bother with pleasantries. He tossed a datapad into Arden's lap. The smuggler scanned it, held diver damage, fleet overlays, intercepted comms, and the mad spark left his gaze. They finally came back, he breathed. Horv folded his arms. You said you saw ghost ships' backwater legends. I did more than see, Arden muttered. I ran like hell. Tell us what you know. Depends. What's in it for me? Horv stepped close, the red scanner of his helmet inches from Arden's face. You get to live, he said coldly. Arden held the stare a beat, then nodded as if to himself. They call themselves United Human Systems, but it's no system. It's a crusade, the remnants of Terran expansion that never bowed to the Accord, never signed treaties, never agreed to parity. Horv's eyes narrowed. There's no record of a Terran expansion in any official archive. Arden laughed, dry and hollow. Of course not. The Accord scrubbed them, filed them under myth, and moved on. Horv's posture tightened. They were warriors. Arden went on, voice low. Fighters who prized conquest and survival. When the Accord pushed unity, some humans adapted. Others refused. They vanished into deep space. And they built this fleet? Horv asked. They didn't build it. They stole it piece by piece, system by system. From Terran war relics to dead. He hadn't forgotten. He had run because he remembered too well. And deep down, part of him respected them. The Helldiver, the Black Fleet, the way they moved without apology. The Accord had built its empire on compromise and diplomacy. But humans were never made for either. They were made to adapt, to evolve through trauma. And when left alone too long, they didn't fade. They sharpened. Arden looked up at the ceiling. You're not myths, he whispered. You're fellest honest thing in this galaxy. Then he grinned and started planning how to get off this rock. The cryocambers groaned with age. Tubes hissed. Vats of thick red-pink preservation gel drained with slurping gurgles as alarms buzzed quietly, warning of biological anomalies, temperature surges, and heart rate spikes. Commander Grant stood on the metal walkway above it all, watching his ghosts return to life. There were 6 in this batch, elite Terran soldiers from before the Accord's rise, men chosen not for loyalty, but for results. They weren't bred in tubes. They weren't raised in peace. They were survivors of the Ixadas campaign, a war so savage that it was buried under layers of forged treaties and historical redactions. As the first pod cracked open, a low, wet breath echoed through the chamber. The man inside stumbled forward, body trembling, eyes adjusting to the dim red light. Muscles like steel cables flexed under scarred skin. His head was shaved and a deep wound across his left temple pulsed faintly, like something had tried to regrow and failed. Name? Grant asked coldly. The soldier looked up. His voice rasped bone-dry. Stryker, welcome back. Stryker didn't smile. He didn't speak. He looked around the chamber, noted the unfamiliar tech, then locked eyes with Grant. Is it true? He asked. The Accord still exists. Yes, and they erased your name. That lit something in Stryker. a slow curl of fury in his jawline, like a fire rekindling in a long-dead furnace. Grant pointed to the next pod. Your brothers are waking. You'll brief them. You'll lead the first ground incursion. Target, Valdros, Accord City, fortified, symbolic. Why symbolic? Grant's eyes went hard. They built it on old Terran bones. Stryker said nothing. He simply walked toward his awakening team, already stretching, coughing blood, and laughing at the same time. All of them bore the same marks. Surgical implants, burn scarring, the hardened missiles of those who fought gravity for sport. One of them, a hulking, dark-skinned man with a shattered jaw wired together by auto-steel, spoke through a vocalizer. What's the kill count, boss? As high as it needs to be, Stryker replied. The past was coming back, and it wanted blood. In the upper council dome of Accord Prime, the ministers were breaking down. Minister Ellen had started shouting an hour ago. Now he sat hunched, muttering out nuclear failsafes and ancient failsafe codes no one remembered. Minister Darrell, recently promoted, dropped a set of uncovered files on the central table. This is not just a fleet. This is history retaliating. You silenced the old war. You sealed the Phantom Directive. You erased every record of resistance. Minister Talon snapped back. We had to. The people wanted peace. What were we supposed to do? Give the next generation nightmares. Darrell didn't flinch. You gave them fantasy while a legion of real nightmares waited just outside your sanitized walls. A silent alert pinged the council screens. Breaking Valdos under immediate threat. Human ships entering lower orbit. Ground insertion anticipated. The room fell dead quiet. No negotiation? One asked. Darrell shook his head. You don't negotiate with a firestorm. You run or you burn. On the edge of Valdros City, the civilian evacuation was already collapsing. Sirens wailed as automated shuttle systems jammed from overload. Parents shoved children into bunkers. Military exosuits jogged through streets trying to maintain order. But people had seen the news feeds. They knew Valdos was built atop the ruins of an old, Terran resistance city once called Fracture Point. The Accord had said it was symbolic peace, a monument. But now the myth was tearing through the clouds in dropships like black hammers. Above it all, an old veteran named Marshal Derrick stood on the watchtower, gripping the rail so tightly his fingers bled. He remembered Fracture Point, had been one of the few who fought in the silent campaign, the secret war that cleared out the last Terran rebels. Had thought it was justified then. But now they were back. They're coming in fast, his spotter said beside him, scanning the sky with trembling hands. Estimated insertion in less than 6 minutes. Derrick didn't answer. He just stared at black dots streaking toward them, faster than anything the Accord had ever fielded. He'd once ordered the execution of surrendered Terran soldiers at this very site. The Accord called it preventative. He called it murder. Now the past had returned to collect its debt. When the drop ships hit the surface, the ground didn't shake. It tripped. Valdros wasn't a battlefield. It was an execution stage. Stryker raced first off the ramp. Plasma bolts flew immediately. Accord soldiers, polished and clean, opened fire with discipline and order. The Terran team didn't answer with formation. They answered with rage. Stryker's railgun tore through cover and armor alike. His brothers moved in brutal sync, breaking ranks, flanking like predators, using shadows and chaos like an art form. One soldier leapt 5 stories up a vertical wall, landing amidst snipers with a kinetic axe. Tootied before they could scream. Another hurled a breech grenade into a command tent, then walked through the flames with blood on his boots. It wasn't war. It was memory made physical. Stryker found Marshal Derrick on the tower. Their eyes met across the smoke. I remember you, Stryker said. Derrick raised his rifle. Then you remember why we did what we did. You tried to end us, Derek fired. The bullet never reached. Stryker moved, a blur of motion, and in seconds had Derek on the floor, pinned, blade drawn. You buried us in myth, Stryker hissed. But we are not ghosts. We are the price of your peace. He plunged the blade deep. Far above on the Helldivers' bridge, Grant watched the live feed. He saw the terror in the city, the fire in the streets, the way the Cord's order crumbled under real war. But more than that, he saw something else. His legacy. For decades, humans had been written out of galactic memory, edited into stories of diplomacy and moral lessons. But now, every explosion, every cry, every panic-a-dackard broadcast was rewriting that history. And this time, it would not be forgotten. The city of Valdos was dying in pieces. Buildings collapsed in clouds of Aloyan screams. Drone towers blinked offline one by one. The once pristine streets, paved with pride and policy, were now split and bleeding. Fires crackled in the oxygen-rich air as bodies lay where they fell. Stryker wiped his blade clean on a fallen Accord flag, stepping over rubble as he led his unit toward the central command dome. They'd breached every strong point. This last structure was different. It didn't defend itself. It hummed. A strange low-frequency pulse vibrated through the ground beneath their boots. Stryker knew the rhythm wasn't natural. It reminded him of something old, forgotten. "Commander," one of his men said, a scarred soldier named Cray. "Our scanners picked up a vault beneath the dome, shielded, ancient. We had to manually be past half a dozen code walls just to read it." "Terran?" Stryker asked. Cray shook his head. Number Accord encryption layered over something older. Stryker's eyes narrowed. "Get the breach gear." The dome doors were triple reinforced, but Terran breachers weren't subtle. Explosives rang out, and in less than 2 minutes, the dome was open. Inside, a short corridor descended into blackness. Cray lit a torch and raised it high. Glyphs lined the walls, familiar to no one but Stryker. He spoke the word like it, Exodus Protocol. The other soldiers paused. "You sure?" Cray asked. "Yeah," Stryker replied. "I saw it once during the purge of Titan's Reach. It means this place holds a seed. A truth too big to erase. They didn't delete it. They buried it. They descended in silence above ground. Accord reinforcement save, too late. Dropships came down cautiously. Most were civilian shuttles with jury-rigged guns, piloted by reservists and half-trained militia. The Accord was not built for war. Not like this." Commander Kellen stood in a battered mobile ops truck parked outside the smoldering remains of the city walls, watching as fragments of his once great city burned. He opened a secure channel to General Corrin. "They've breached the vault." Corrin's voice came through raw and strained. "How deep?" "Past level 4 encryption." "They'll reach the core." Silence. Then Corrin's voice returned, heavy with resignation. "Initiate protocol blackout. If they access what's in that core, this war will turn from history to prophecy." Kellen stared down at the activation key in his hand. Blackout protocol meant wiping the core, erasing the oldest files, even at the risk of causing a fusion overload. "I need full authorization," Kellen replied. "You have it." Stryker and his men reached the bottom of the vault where a circular chamber waited. Cool, pristine, untouched by war. The pulse was louder now, not just sound, but thought. A human, the skull. At the center was a data obelisk, 10 feet high, floating, humming, rotating slowly. It bore the Terran seal, an old-world insignia long lost to time. A closed fist around a broken chain. Cray stepped forward, scanner in hand. "It's not broadcasting, it's absorbing." "Absorbing what?" "Another S. Everything," Cray replied. "Tactical data, communications, fleet positions, civilian patterns, Accord encryption. It's pulling their world into itself." Stryker stepped close and placed his hand on the obelisk. Instantly his mind filled with pain. Not memory, history. Images exploded behind his. Vaughn placed a data chip on the table. I have the original Exodus logs, the true ones, not the council-verified summaries. I want you to see what we were afraid of. Stryker stepped forward, growling. We know what you were afraid of. US? Vaughn didn't blink. You were wrong. We were afraid of ourselves. Grant took the chip and inserted it into the display. Footage flickered to life.earth, last era of the pre-Accord age. Not war, not chaos, experiments, black sites, human augmentation, artificial evolution. Children bred for pain resistance. Neural loops used to suppress empathy. Wormies with live-fire death matches. We were building monsters, Varn said quietly. Not heroes. The Accord stepped in because we feared we were creating a species that couldn't coexist with anything. Not even itself. No, Stryker muttered. You feared we'd win. That we'd never stop at coexistence. That we'd rewrite the stars in our image. Wouldn't you? Varn asked. Grant stepped between them. You want to negotiate? He said. But you brought history, not terms. Vaughn met his gaze. Because I want to offer more than terms. I want to offer redemption. That made Grant laugh cold and sharp. We were left to die in the void. Our name became myth. And now you want redemption. No, Varn said. I want integration. Not the Accord's way. Your way. The new Accord will not survive unless you help rebuild it as founders, as equals. The room fell silent. You want us to save the thing that erased us? Stryker asked. I want you to lead it, Varn answered. Grant turned it away, staring at the fleet map. The Helldiver still pulsed with combat energy. He could launch strikes right now, burn 10 cities before anyone blinked. But war was never the goal. Memory was, and now the enemy was asking to remember with them. You're bold, Grant said finally. But if you're lying, I won't need to, Varn said. Because if I'm wrong, none of us will be left to lie. Later, alone in the war chamber, Grant reviewed the Exodus files again. They were monsters, yes, but monsters built by fear, by manipulation, not by nature. The Accord didn't stop war. They stopped the mirror. Now for the first time someone was willing to look back. But trust would not come easy. And the fleet still hungered. The fleet was silent. Not because there was nothing to say, but because everything had changed. Fienvoy's words had rippled through every rank of the Terran fleet like a shot to the chest. Redemption, integration, lead the Accord. The idea alone was enough to throw steel-hearted veterans into questioning everything they'd fought for. On the Helldiver, Commander Grant stood alone in his quarters, staring at the old insignia pinned to the wall, a simple black triangle surrounding Earth's shattered outline. It had been sewn onto every uniform back during the Exodus, a reminder of exile, of rage. But now someone had asked them to lead instead of conquer. The idea made his stomach twist. A chime interrupted his thoughts. Grant tapped the console. Yes. Stryker's voice came through low and raw. We need to talk. It's not good. Grant met him in the lower barracks where the elite were already in full argument. Cray, the team's explosive specialist, had ripped a terminal from the wall in frustration. This is a trap. They fear us. They always feared us. That's why they locked us out of history. And now we're just supposed to help them fix what they broke. They didn't break it, snapped Voy, one of the ship's deep intel operators, wetted. Every time we slaughtered them without hesitation. Every time we raised a city to make a point. They're no-tasking us to be weak. They're asking us to help them stop making the same mistakes. Cray turned to her. You were born after the Exodus. You didn't see what they did, and you didn't see the people cheering us in Valdos. Vale shot back. Half of them were ready to join us. That means some eving. Stryker didn't try to stop them. He looked to Grant. "They're splitting, sir. Someone to push through and burn what's left." "Some are listening to what Vaughn said." Grant nodded slowly. "What about the civilian sectors we liberated?" Confused, Stryker answered, grateful, but nervous. "They want peace. But peace without remembering the cost isn't peace. It's sedation." Another voice spoke up from the shadows, Marlowe, arms crossed. "We've been hardwired for vengeance, for legacy. This integration is going to test every piece of who we are. We were never meant to govern anything. We were meant to survive and destroy." That was the truth Grant feared most. Humans were the perfect weapon when abandoned. But now that the war was turning, could they really be something more? Could they forgive? Could they trust? Before he could respond, alarms howled through the ship. Internal security breach. Deck 9, Biot compromised. Grant snapped into motion. Move. They raced down the corridors, boots thundering on steel. When they reached Deck 9, what they found froze them all. The BOVO was open. Inside, a body lay in a pool of blood. It was Dr. Urich, dead, throat slashed, still warm. Cray stepped forward, scanning the data node beside him. Someone copied the entire bioweapon schematic folder, including the prototype nanopage strain we swore to never deploy. Grant's face hardened. "Check the logs. Who accessed this?" Vel pulled up the list. Her face went pale. It was Cray. Every weapon in the room turned on the explosive specialist. Cray didn't move. He didn't flinch. "They were going soft," he said. Voice disturbingly calm. "Urich was about to disable the contingency systems. You think I didn't see it? We were one speech away from turning into diplomats. You murdered our own?" Stryker growled, stepping forward. "And for what? So you could push us back into annihilation?" Craig laughed bitterly. "You really believe they'll ever accept us? The Accord is built on weakness. You can't negotiate with something that's already decided you're the devil." "You stole the nanoage," Grant said cold. "Where is it?" "I didn't steal it," Craig said. He held up a small device. "I released it for a heartbeat." Time froze. Then the alarms changed. Biohazard breach, hull level 2. Air circulation contaminated. Lockdown in progress. No. Vile whispered, "You fool." Grant roared, lunging forward. He slammed Cray against the VO wall. "You just signed our death sentence. It's not for us," Cray gasped through broken teeth. "I deployed it on an Accord medical station when we passed 2 days ago. Not military civilian. It'll hit in less than 20 hours. Why?" Stryker shouted. "To remind them who we are," Craig said, defiant to the last. "The monsters they buried." Grant stepped back, fists clenched. "Contain him," he ordered. "Quarantine him, lock him down, and if he so much as coughs, flush the chamber." As guards hauled Cray away, Vale turned to Grant. "We can stop the spread." "Maybe, but not before the Accord finds out," Stryker added. "And when they do," Grant said grimly. "Varn's offer is dead. Indeed, it was already unraveling." On Accord Prime, the reports came in. Dozens of civilians falling ill on Station Iron, their flesh collapsing inward, bones liquefying in minutes. All signs pointed to a tailored human bioweapon. Minister Darrell slammed his fist on the council table. "They sent us their terms and responded with a massacre. There's no peace to be had." Varn, recently returned from the Helldiver, tried to speak. "It wasn't sanctioned. I spoke to Grant myself." Then your precious Grant lost control. Talon spat. "They're war machines. Vaughn broken. Now let's finish what we started." "Wait," Vaughn said, desperate. "Give me one last channel, one direct line." "Why?" "Because if he's still the man I saw, he'll choose to fix it." Grant stared at the flashing console in his war room. Private channel Accord encryption. Only one person. It could be. He tapped it. Varn's face appeared haunted, furious. "You promised," he said. "I didn't authorize it," Grat replied. "You deployed it from your fleet," Varn hissed. "And it hit children." Grat. "Children?" Grat said nothing for a long time. Then finally, "Tell me what you want. Call back your fleet. Deliver the antidote publicly. Admit what happened. Show us you're not what we buried." Grat leaned forward. "And if I don't, then we burn everything," Varn said. "And we make sure no one ever forgets what you became." In the medbay, the nanopidge culture flickered under containment. Vel worked furiously replicating antibodies from legacy Terran strain data. Stryker entered silently. "How bad?" he asked. "Bad," she replied. "But not irreversible. If we push it out now, we can save most of the station, maybe all. And if we delay, we lose every Oni and the Accord comes back with nukes." Stryker looked at her for a long moment, then nodded. "Do it." Hours later, the Accord received a broadcast from Grant himself. He appeared without armor, without weapons. Behind him, the Terran medical wing. "I am Commander Grant of the United Human Systems. A crime was committed by one of our own. Against innocence, against you." He stepped aside. Vel uploaded the antidote across open channels. "We are not here to conquer. Not anymore. We came to remind you who we were. But today, we choose who we will be." Hell looked into the camera. "Don't remember us for the burn. Remember us for Thefire we refuse to spread." Accord response was hesitant, but Varn pushed the council hard, and slowly flags lowered. War orders were paused, and the question became real. Could the myth of humanity return? Not as a terror, but as a leader. The war room of the ISS Helldiver had never been so quiet. Outside its hull, the Terran fleet floated in perfect formation, their engines silent, their guns powered down. Across the stars, Accord vessels, battered, uncertain, but still standing, held their distance, watching, waiting. The broadcast had gone through. The antidote had worked. For now the bloodshed had paused, but peace was not guaranteed, because within the Helldiver something far more volatile simmered. Grant sat alone at the central command table. "No more, no we.